Hello.
That may be using them to
We have a hotspot for you to log into. I'll get you a password. Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, it's literally a box. I can picture it right
No, scribbles on it.
I still have something else. You know, I don't know. These are my old ones. It's coming. I got mine.
I can feel it.
Mine were until about 4. Oh, really? It didn't work.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, 1 second. I need something to look up.
I learned that. We tried that one time.
Optometrists can drive them, but they just drop.
No, there should be time. I time. The whole thing. Catch up with you. Yeah, yeah. All right. I had to time myself because I
Sorry to call.
so I had to time myself just to make sure I didn't use up the whole 6 minutes. Yeah. Writing stuff and writing stories and things like that. It's never been.
There was a fire break, so squirrel had a little squirrel.
I can write. I tell the cows I don't do it, but
And if it's in a tree and it looks like.
and if this looks okay.
So you have to
And it was about flowers, like putting drainage systems in or whatever. And I wrote my scope and then I watched the video of myself. I was like, what is wrong with my face? It was doing weird things in my eyes. I do, right?
You were? Yeah. Nice. Are you not Lisa? Not yet. I'll give it one more. Maybe it's still coming. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah. I just need to do a couple more things.
Oh, how's that?
I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. I got an email saying that Brad and you
We'll sit by Connor, please.
Oh, no. You want to sit by now? Thank you for your dedication.
I know. And then I literally just left work. Yeah, sorry, we had a meeting of lobbyists the rest of the day.
I'm just gonna make sure that I. Oh,
That's not over there.
yes. Is the actual thing. Thank you.
Can we set it in the middle or what time?
regular school board meeting to order. If you could join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I'd like to make a motion here just to change the agenda and to appoint an acting secretary. So we can do that as one, or we can do that separately. Okay. One, I move to appoint Lisa Trescott as acting secretary for today. And I would also like to move to adopt the agenda. Dr. Speaker would like to make a public statement right after roll call. Amend the agenda, correct.
Support. Support, any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, so on Zen,
Sorry.
Sorry.
Let's get you close.
sorry.
Angelina Barnes,
Present.
Mike Hansight, Jason Hanselman,
Here.
Brad Stoddard, John Montana,
Here.
Lisa Trescott, I am here, Brad Weaver.
Here.
So on Sunday, I learned of social media posts about discarded materials and the school dumpster. Some of these were consumables such as scholastic supplementals and workbooks and some textbooks that we no longer use. Some of these were labeled readers that did not fit the current literacy program or DEI efforts that were viewed by both district and our county specialists. Some supplies are broken and others were covered in mouse droppings, but most of them were determined to be removed back in 2019 after the building reconfiguration and youth curriculum adoption. However, I do understand that we must do a better job of donating and sharing materials that the district no longer has a need for. I have already reviewed our board policy on disposition of surplus property and have already sent out communication to the cabinet and the building so we can work together to find ways to extend the life of these materials and by sharing them with the community and such organizations. As an ELA teacher, I am very grateful that these materials have found newfound hands and appreciate those members who helped do so.
All right. All the communications for items on the agenda.
Theo Randall. For archery, that's on the agenda. Did you want to do it?
I'll do one at the end.
Okay.
Thank you. I put both on there. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure how to do that.
Oh, gotcha. That's it.
Presentations. Bob?
Yes, good evening. It's good to see everybody again. If you recall, had the opportunity to work with the Board of Education and school community, district level administration, facilitate your strategic planning process a few months ago. As you recall, Jay Bennett was with me. We co-facilitated most of your events and activities. Jay couldn't be with me tonight to help present, but obviously we have Jay as well. What I have for you tonight is just a brief presentation and a reflection on the process itself and recommendation for the board for approving certain aspects of the strategic plan. So I'll get going on here real quick. If at any point in time you have any questions for me, please feel free to just jump in there and ask. But this is just a reflection of your timelines. In February, the district made a commitment to the process, signed an agreement with MASB, and then things happened very quickly for you. March and April, we conducted your data collection and your stakeholder input. I'll go through some of that information in a minute. In April, I think it was the 23rd, we held a retreat. We had a great turnout for the retreat. I think it was a very productive day for you. We were able to follow up with that in a meeting in May with the implementation workshop with Dr. Spicker and your district administration. And I am here today for your final report. The stakeholder input, this was a big part of your strategic planning process, mostly because you had such great engagement in your stakeholder input. The purpose of the stakeholder input was to provide an opportunity for the community to provide you with some insights and some thoughts and perspectives on the district as you went into the process. But there was basically 4 areas that we surveyed or communicated with or looked for input from the community. What was the district's strengths, areas that may be considered for improvement in the future, What were some barriers that the district faces to moving forward in strategic directions? And what was the overall vision for the district from the community's perspective? Where would you like to be in the next 3 to 5 years? The retreat was where most of the work took place in terms of the development of the plan. We began with the environmental scan. If you recall, we had the big blue wall there, and everybody's engaged in the activity of thinking what was on the horizon and what we might need to move beyond, and what were some things we needed to consider in the future. Then the strategic planning retreat, you guys took a significant amount of time and put forth a lot of effort to recreate or redevelop a vision, mission, and belief statements, which we'll get to in just a second. Then we went through a process where you took a look at all the stakeholder input. We also gave you a very large document that had a lot of qualitative and quantitative data, a lot of data that we implemented from the state through CEPI with fiscal data, staff data. Then we also brought down a lot of CEPI data that has assessment and programming data for your students. Then we went on to, we reviewed all that and broke into groups. That group analyzed the data and put forth or brought up what you thought were priorities or notable things within each data set. From there, we developed, or you developed, we facilitated the development of your new proposed vision, mission, and belief statements. And then, as a group, you went through and developed strategic goal areas. Remember that process? Which are around Robin and everybody had, each group had a chance to rewrite and revise goal area statements. And then in groups, you also identified some priority objectives based on some of the data analysis that I just talked about. And then from there, that's where we worked with those priority objectives. We had the follow-up implementation meeting, and that's where the administration took those priority objectives and we'll present to you the first year calendar basically on initial steps. But I will not cover that tonight. I'm sure Dr. Spicker would be happy to cover that with you at a later date. Any questions? I know you were all heavily engaged in that process. Any questions about that or comments on the process?
Well, I'll comment on it. So I was, we talked about it beforehand. I was a little skeptical about the benefits of the strategic plan, but I thought it was great. I thought it was a really great, not just an exercise in motion, but it was a great discussion. Several of us sat on our table, Will sat at our table. We had good to have perspective other than have physical kids. So I have my perspective. People have totally different perspectives. So I just thought it was a great exercise.
Yeah, I was going to save it for the last slide, but since you commented on it, it was from a facilitator standpoint, it was truly a privilege to work with your school community. Your survey, you had 210 survey responses, which is unparalleled out there in terms of community engagement for you to review and consider as part of your strategic planning process. 2,000. Yes, yeah. I'm sorry, 200. Oh. Definitely misspoke on that. Yeah, 2010 survey responses. You had 41 attendees at the strategic planning retreat, and that was the other thing. Folks weren't sitting on their hands. You were all actively engaged in the process and contributing and helping support the strategic planning process. So again, the return on this investment for you, like I said, it was easy on our part to see that we're going to get great results from it. And we're happy that, and the more, as you know, the more you engage in the process and the more involved folks are, the better day it is as well. And it was a long day. I think it was the first nice day of the spring, but gave up the sunshine on that day. And I think we went for about close to 7 hours putting this together. So good comment, and that was certainly a highlight of the process. Here were some of your participants, the list of participants that engaged in the retreat on that day. And this is what you came up with, the retreat outcomes. So the mission that you developed on that particular day was through a culture of excellence. We provide the tools and environment for all learners to succeed. And the vision for the schools ended up students equipped to build a better tomorrow. Your belief statements. DeWitt evaluates and uses resources responsibly to achieve our mission. Every learner is a unique individual. We are all teachers and learners. Involvement from students, families, staff, and the community create a culture of excellence. Trust, honesty, and respect are essential to learning, and together we strive for inclusivity and excellence. So, your retreat outcomes. So, the work you did that day, the outcomes that you produced, in addition to the mission, vision, and value statements, belief statements, are DeWitt Public Schools will enhance transparency by clear, concise, and coordinated communication. DeWitt Public Schools will expand programs, support systems, and diverse technical learning experiences for all students. DeWitt Public Schools will improve and maintain learning environments that are safe, secure, clean, and future-ready. DeWitt Public Schools will foster an inclusive, engaging, and supporting educational community. And DeWitt Public Schools will attract, retain, onboard, and cultivate a qualified and diverse educational team. So, out of all that information, we had that opportunity to meet with district leadership, as I mentioned, on May 9th. And the work they did was to review the mission, or the vision, mission, and belief statements, review the goal statements, and determine potential objectives and finalize up to 3 objectives for each goal statement that could be accomplished in the first year. I don't believe that there were any major changes to anything from the district administration, which, if you think about it, we bring 41 folks together, and we were writing all over Post-its and boards and using dots that were falling and moving all over the place. The group did an amazing job again. Not much need for any revisions. I think the intent was there, and the administration that were involved certainly remembered the day, and I think it was reflected in their final revisions. But I think for the most part on that day, the group just, Dr. Spricker, you comment, just got to work on writing next steps in that first year calendar.
Yeah, we really focused on the number of dots or votes that certain things got as far as being a larger priority. I think there was only one goal that there were 4 objectives for, because those were all very important to the stakeholders. So on the extra one for the communications.
So, in the big picture, and I won't read through all these, but you can see, goal area number 1, you ended up with 5 goal areas, so everything I've just reviewed is now right here. Goal area number 1, communications and engagement. There was your goal statement that I mentioned earlier, and your priority objectives underneath that was establish a public relations social media team, collaborate with student social media representatives, develop building and department websites, and deliver an annual state of the district. Goal area 2, academics and programs. The priority objectives were establish systems to support academic and behavioral transitions from building to building, offer more diverse technical learning at the elementary and promote the secondary options, create a hub of resources and systems for gifted and talented students. Goal area 3, operations. Implement P12 safety plan to enhance safety and security measures. Utilize building substitutes and expand and maintain technology. Goal area 4, grow the mentoring and buddy system. Create a positive climate that excites people to go to school each day. Sustain effective social, emotional, and mental health supports. In goal area 5, recruit, onboard, and retain quality staff, and attract a diverse applicant pool. So tonight, and I know from the board's perspective, since you're heavily involved on that day, most of what I said probably makes sense, and you can recall each and every one of those offense for the folks sitting in the audience, unless you were truly engaged in that day. You probably don't realize all the work that went in that day, and it's probably not giving you a great vision of actually what occurred. But in the end, for tonight, what would be important is that the accumulating work from that day would be the mission statement, the vision statement, the belief statements, and the goal statements. That would be for the board to approve, and then you can move forward and begin your journey on this 3 to 5 year quest to reach your vision.
So this was put into a 2-pager that the board will take action on later in the meeting.
And in addition to that, I would also like to point out the fact that Dr. Spickert and her team have been more than intentional about formatting and process for communicating your strategic plan out to the broader community. I can't tell how impressed I've been by the work they've done in putting those materials together. They've pretty much taken that task on their own completely, and provided them with information, but they've done an amazing job putting those documents together. In addition to the 2-pager, you'll have a whole final summary report, which I think is closer to 30 pages and reflective of that day.
That's already posted on the strategic planning website
Okay,
as well.
so you've already got that up now. But again, that's just another indication of how intentional and thoughtful you've been on this process, and the extent that you're going to make sure that it's going to be a worthwhile document.
I was a little worried about our aggressive timeline, but we made it happen.
Yeah, and you did do that too. we were racing on our end to keep up with you, and that's not typical either. So again, congratulations to you, and I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it was for us to work with you, and how excited we are as we move forward. Okay, thank you for sharing.
All right, the DeWitt archery team is up next. I'm not sure who's leading the presentation.
I'm gonna look at Lisa, because she said I could look at her. I'm uncomfortable speaking in front of, in this situation, so I have something prepared to help keep me focused, and then I have some other things that I could add. So, and I need my glasses. So, hello, my name is Jamie Guerrero, mom to 4 boys, 3 graduates of DeWitt High School. We are a school-of-choice family from Lansing as of 10 years ago, but I grew up in DeWitt Township and have strong ties to many businesses and families within this community. My mom worked for DeWitt Township for 31 years as well. My roots are strong here, which was one of the reasons that we applied for school of choice here in DeWitt. Over the years, I've noticed many changes within the community. Some wonderful changes, some a bit disheartening. One of the things that we have noticed as a family, it was division and lack of acceptance. Families come in all shapes and sizes, so to speak, but DeWitt seems to struggle with reflecting that. After speaking with my 4 boys and searching online, I came across a wonderful program called NASP. NASP stands for National Archery in the Schools Program, and I'll tell you, it's one of the most inclusive programs I've ever been a part of. The only requirements of this program is that NASP be taught for 10 hours during the school day in each school that agrees to the program. And if we choose to start an after-school program, that the in-school program must continue as well. NASP during the school day and after school is a co-ed program that all students can participate in. It is not dependent upon athletic ability, previous skills, body stature, socioeconomic status, or physical disabilities. This program excludes no one. After about 1.5 years in negotiating with Dr. Dieter, he agreed to allow this awesome program into DeWitt. After spending some time with a well-established archery team in Grand Ledge, their head coach, Kelly Schultry, as well as other Grand Ledge coaches, I started the after-school team in the fall of 2019, both high school and middle school, with one of my sons on the high school team and the other on the middle school team. I could not have done this without the support of several Michigan NASP coaches, as well as Phil Basilian. In March of 2020, after qualifying for states, our very first year, we went into a pandemic. Sorry, and states was canceled. With strict social distancing, equipment cleaning, and probably a bit annoying hand sanitizing from Coach Guerrero, myself. I'm also a registered nurse, so I kind of went a little bit overboard. But we were able to get students away from the computers and out of the house during the 2020-2021 school year, and they shot twice a week for most of the year. We even had a virtual tournament at our range that year. We survived the pandemic and even grew during it. Fast forward to this year, 2021-2022 has been a season of firsts. We grew to 71 archers in the fall, which was our largest group of students since we started. We won our first trophies in Heartland, which has a nationally ranked team and was a bit intimidating. Our middle school team won second place, our high school team won third. We hosted our very first ever DeWitt archery team tournament, DeWitt Cupid's Arrow, with 15 schools in attendance. DeWitt winning 2 more trophies. High school won second place and middle school won third. Several of our archers have also won medals throughout the season as well. We once again qualified for states, with our middle school losing third place by only 35 points. Did I mention that DeWitt has set a trend of looking sharp? We were the first team in Michigan to require our archers to wear khakis with their team jersey. We also were the first team to make tournament day a time to eat wonderful food together. Caleb. And through that, we became more like a family. We didn't just shoot and leave. We were a team that was a family and never went hungry. So what happened at states this year? We qualified for nationals in Kentucky. We attended nationals on May 12th and 13th. A memory and an experience to last a lifetime. It was a very long 2 seasons, which ran from fall of 2021 to spring of 2022, with just a few weeks break. But the difference this program is making in these archers' lives is so worth it. I hope that you will see the value in the NAS program and the value in the program that I have developed in this district. It is truly one like no other. Thank you for your time. So besides this, I brought, and I didn't know, we talked about doing a PowerPoint. Then we were thinking the PowerPoint might take all of our 6 minutes, and I had to time myself with this to make sure I did not talk the whole 6 minutes. I want to show you a couple things, and then we have a parent that wants to say something too. So these are our trophies. These are these trophies here. So these are our trophies that we won at our tournament. So third place middle school and second high school. And then these are our Heartland trophies. Heartland, all of our families here that went up to Heartland. Heartland is a bit intimidating. They have tryouts and they mean business. So just being there, we were all really stressed. Coaches, families, our kids, and walking away, these were our first trophies that we won. And walking away with trophies that day was unbelievable. It was incredible because we managed through the stress of being there. They had a notebook timing. They were timing kids and writing them down. They had 2 minutes to shoot, and if you were 2 minutes and 1 second, they put your name in the notebook. So it was a little bit intimidating. This is our team. This is everybody. So this is middle school and high school.
71.
Yes, 71. Yes, this is fall. Yes. So, and this is our bow that we use. This is called a Genesis original bow. So this is the bow that we use. I don't know if any of you are hunters, but no sights, no nothing. It is a very basic bow. So there's no advantage. So everyone uses the same bow. They can buy their own bow, but our team also has bows. So it's all about skill and time and patience and, you know, those kind of things. It's not who has a better bow or who has better arrows. We have to use the same arrows. So I didn't bring any of those. Those are Easton arrows. So, and then these are, so one of our parents made these for the showcase. Maybe I'll just do this. No, oh, your face. See, I told you I don't do good at this stuff.
Oh, it's just faster.
Yeah. So one of our parents, they actually are on vacation right now. She made these for the community showcase. So it just kind of highlights some of the stuff. Most of it is, I think most of it is this year, but it just kind of highlights some of the things that we've done this year and the way that our team, there's banquets and competitions and some stuff.
What's the breakdown between high school and middle school?
So we have a lot more middle schoolers than high schoolers. And this is my guess, because a lot of kids, by the time they get to high school, a lot of them have already kind of chosen their path, whether it's soccer or whatever it might be. Some kids still do it anyways, even though they've done other things. So we definitely have more middle schoolers. Starting them younger, I think, is better, because then they kind of grow with the sport. But this year we had 21 high schoolers, though, which was pretty good.
Do they have to do both seasons or can they do one?
No, they can do either season. Do you want me to go back? Oh, you're fine. Okay. I didn't know what's the.
Well, maybe just so you can hear.
Okay, I'll go back. So no, they don't have to do both seasons. So fall is more of a come check out archery. There's only maybe 1 or 2 tournaments in the fall. Usually Grand Ledge does one, and they're just a lot of fun, and they're just very laid back. And then Howell often does one in the fall. But that's kind of a get your feet wet season. Test it out, see if you like it, because when we move into January, every single one of our tournaments is a possible state qualifier tournament. So that score, you're working when January hits, every single tournament that we have, you're working hopefully towards going to states, and then of course it's states to nationals.
How
So
many teams compete at matches?
What's that?
How many teams compete usually?
So it varies. So you can set up how many spots, they're called flight positions. You can decide how many you can host. So at ours, Brad came to it. So Brad came accidentally, kind of. My son was one of my seniors was in the band, and we did the national anthem in the beginning before we started our tournament, and we invited DeWitt band, some of DeWitt band kids to come and play. And so that was one of the requirements for a band too. Mr. Norman wanted them to get out and do things, play for other things. So it worked out perfect. So Brad came, and then Brad stayed for a little while up in the stands, and it's busy, and you have teams coming and going all day long. So we had 40 positions every hour and a half. From 8 or 9 o'clock, I honestly don't remember if it was 8 or 9 o'clock. I think our last flight might have been at 5:30. So we had a long day of shooting. And usually teams, they come and go after they shoot, and that's what I was referring to. We kind of stuck around because we always had food. And we had other teams, sniffing us out, wanting to go eat our food. But we were trying to create more of a community, and we didn't want the kids. One of the things that I saw is a lot of teams, they just came and they did their thing and they shot and they left. There was I just feel like that missed the team component of being a team. Our middle school and our high school, they don't always shoot on the same flight, so they don't always shoot at the same time either. So I just was trying to find a way to get them to be together more often.
So what's the goal next year?
Well, actually, 3D targets have been our goal for a while. We did some fundraising last, I think we did a little bit last year, but our first year, and we have Randall Electric is actually offered to match us with our fund for 3D targets because they're kind of expensive. You have to buy them in sets of 6. And so we have been unable to compete in 3D because we don't have a place to store our targets because they're kind of big. I mean, they're deer and bear and they don't really stack well. So ideally we'd like to purchase 3D targets and hopefully be able to compete. You can on the state level and a national level. So besides the regular tournaments, it will just open up a lot more things for us as a team.
That's great.
If you purchase those 3D targets, are you going to run into the storage issues that you need addressed?
Absolutely, yes. That's why we have it. We've been kind of waiting. We've had the money sitting in the bank because I would say probably, because we did a survey, I'd say about 50% of our kids want to shoot 3D, and that's something really cool also. So the kids that joined archery do not have to shoot 3D. So if they feel uncomfortable with it for whatever reason, they can just stick with the regular bullseye shooting and skip 3D. It's not required. So it kind of gives them some flexibility. And if we go to a tournament, Grand Ledge does a camo. They did specifically a 3D tournament. I think it was their camo tournament, and they encourage like everybody to wear like camo on their faces. And so we went one year, but we didn't do the best because we can't practice. So we just went for the fun of it. Yes.
Congratulations on good success this year. That's pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And if you have any other questions, it's kind of confusing how it functions and what flights mean. Just something else about the NAS program, and then I'll get the parent up here, is so when we compete, Brad probably saw that, you don't compete, so you compete on a computer. So there's a NAS system. It's a national website. So you're not necessarily competing with the person on the target with you. That's just your target partner. So for instance, my senior, he's at work tonight, but when we went to nationals, some of our coaches have said, don't let it get in your head, what's going on with the person at your target, because they could be taller than you, shorter than you, really good or not so good, but don't let that get in your head. And so he actually shot at nationals against a 4th grader. Well, he was on the target with a 4th grader, and he absolutely let it get in his head. So when you go to tournaments, it's interesting too, because everyone comes in and then we have a roster, and on a computer level, they are competing as a team, and there's requirements that you have to meet. You have to have 12 to 24 archers and at least 4 of the opposite gender. So anyways, so when you come in, you're competing kind of against yourself when you're on that target. They're just your partner that you score with. So that's very different compared to other sports. So when you go and you compete on a varsity level, you're competing with kids probably the same age as you. You are competing with kids the same, different age, but on the target itself, you aren't necessarily gonna be with a senior if you're a senior. So. And it's kind of cool to watch because for the most part, the older kids, if they're on a target with the younger one, they help them. So, all right, I'll step aside.
Thank you. I'm sorry, who goes?
Sorry, this is Robin. Aaron.
Hi, how are you guys? All right, my name is Robin Heron. I am here because my daughter is on the middle school team, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts that I had about her experience, and a thank you to all the coaches on the team. As you guys know, a lot of these sports, it takes a village, and it wouldn't be without the volunteer time. We're all busy, we all have a lot on our plates, so it's pretty amazing to see this group come together to support the kids. So just a few things about my daughter. Like I said, she's a middle school student here in DeWitt, and while she has tried several sports, she just couldn't find the right fit. Then she discovered archery. She took to it so quickly because it challenged her while providing a pace and skill set where she succeeded. Mental and physical endurance are different strengths, and providing archery as an option gives students another sports alternative to succeed. We have found archery to be a lesson in self-discipline, focus, and concentration. Archery is also a sport of inclusiveness that gives a platform for those from all backgrounds, genders, and abilities an opportunity to compete. It seems that in all other aspects of student learning, we understand that students are not created equally. We strive to provide a variety of resources and tools that will support students across the spectrum of learning. I would argue that this same approach should be applied to sports as well, because all athletes are not created equally. Lastly, offering archery sets DeWitt apart from other districts. When I discuss my daughter's experiences with families, friends, and peers, they're always surprised and honestly kind of impressed that DeWitt offers this type of experience. As Coach mentioned earlier, this team had an incredibly successful year, making it all the way to nationals in Kentucky. And she didn't mention this, and I'm surprised, but we joined 11,000 other kids there from across the region. So it was a sight to see for sure. Archery can be continued in college, and for those that are good enough, could even be a pathway to the Olympics. How about another Jordan Weaver, right? Archery receives community support from conservation groups like Ducks Unlimited and Pheasants Forever, providing students an opportunity to learn about the impact of conservation efforts and a potential introduction to hunting and environmental preservation. According to the latter part of the district's vision statement prior to tonight, I did not know you were going to update it, said, we will provide an environment of excellence that results in the achievement of all students. I ask that you support this sports program and that it's giving all students the opportunity to achieve personal and competitive sports success. Thanks so much for your time.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I forgot to say, the shirts that we're wearing, these are actually our nationals jerseys. We had, like some other teams, if they made it to nationals, and one of our, we were able to take 2 out of our 3 teams. We had 2 middle school teams and 1 high school team. And then we also took alternates as well. They got this jersey, and they're able to wear it all next year at tournaments or our traditional jersey, either or. So that's kind of followed after Grand Ledge. And can I bring one of our archers up here for just 1 second? TJ. And I'm so surprised. So this is TJ. He's a middle schooler, and so this is the best thing ever. This is kind of like makes everything else, besides everything that we've said, this is just super awesome. TJ, will you tell them why about nationals and how you feel about nationals? Why did you go, or why did you want to go?
I just wanted the jersey because it looked really cool.
And what did you say about the jersey?
All I see is flames, my guy.
I just wanted to share that because I just thought it was so
Glad
cute.
you got this jersey.
Yeah. So, and I'm surprised you didn't wear it tonight. I'm like, where's the jersey? So I just wanted to share that.
Thank
you. That's all that I have.
So you guys are welcome to stay, but now we're going to do a bunch of boring stuff.
Okay.
So if you want to stick out, you're welcome to stay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Start with the consent agenda. It's the recommendation by Superintendent Shannon Stickers of the Board of Education to approve, adopt, and accept the following items for immediate implementation and appropriate action as presented. Approval of the minutes from the June 13th budget hearing and the regular meeting held on June 13th. Treasurer's report payment confirmation for the month of May 2022. Treasurer reviewed the checks, ACH debits, and purchase card in the month of 2022, and this is the report reflecting that. We also have 3 professional hires to approve: Heather Downs at Ferguson Woods, Jeremy Beck at DeWitt Middle School, and Logan Breer at repurposing Woods Elementary fifth grade. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Support. Move to support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So the district is at a point where we need to borrow $1.6 million from the 2022-23 school year. So it's a cash flow loan that we do. We do it every year about this time. Usually somewhere around the same amount. So it's a recommendation by Rob Spagnolo, the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, the Board of Education, approve the resolution to borrow short-term operational funds as presented. We have a motion. Support. Move and supported. Any discussion? Anything you want to add?
If you hit on it, it's an annual thing we do for cash flow purposes. It's actually a little bit lower than we've been the last few years. Some of it plays into when payroll set versus when our state aid hits. Some of the front loading, some of the federal funds has allowed us to dip a little lower this year, but it's in line with what we need, and it's been reviewed through legal.
Questions?
Rob, how many school districts across the state typically do this?
I
Just
would,
ballpark.
ballpark, I would say by half.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next action item, the state of Michigan recently updated its guidance related to GASB 87, which is for leases. Effective June 30, 2022, the updated guidance requires the budget and expenditures for copiers and buses that are funded in different health standards. So no real impact on the total revenue or expenditures, just a change of what we're putting in. So it's a recommendation by Assistant Superintendent Spagnuolo and Superintendent Schatzler that the Board of Education approve the following amended budget for 2021 and 2022 school year, fiscal year, general fund total revenues of $35,882,502. Total expenditures of $35,904,769. Expenditures exceeding revenue by $22,267, resulting in an estimated fund balance as of June 30, 2022 of $4,882,745. Do we have a motion? Move to support discussion.
And that's exactly it. So it doesn't impact the bottom line. It's just meeting the state chart of account requirements that were updated late May, so that we're in compliance with the end of the fiscal year.
Last one, Bob already presented on this, so, sorry.
We'll keep each other.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we already heard from Bob on the presentation for the strategic plan. Is the motion is the recommendation by Superintendent Schatzler that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2027 DeWitt Public Schools strategic plan for core values, vision, mission, goal focus areas, goal statements, and priority objectives. Do we have a motion? Support. Move to support. Any discussion?
I would like to echo that I thought it was a great process as well. My question would be, as we move forward, will there be updates? I would think that that's the whole point, that we come with updates. So that will be something that we can look forward to.
This will be an update, and so the priorities that we had set, or the objectives that we had set are kind of like the first year. So there'll be a state of the district update annually, and then obviously ongoing updates as well. And those will all be worked into my evaluation. So when I submit data for the evaluation, I'll submit those in those goal areas as well.
Well, I appreciate that this was a priority and that given the timeline that you were able to make it happen and you participated in this. So I think it's great.
Yes. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Finally, the Board of Education reviewed and approved the first reading of the policy below on June 13, 2022. At the regular meeting, the policy was posted on the website a few days before that, on June 10th, 2022. And now it's the recommendation by Superintendent Schatzler that the Board of Education place on second reading for adoption as presented. Policy 8510 for wellness. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Move and support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That's That's it for action items tonight. Next is public communications for items not found on the agenda.
Theo Randall.
I'll go ahead and I'll skip, thank you.
You're skipping? Okay. Lakeville?
Congratulations, Dr. You've done a great job, by the way. Going to take this back a second to the addendum that Dr. Spicard was nice enough to add into the agenda. Excuse me if I go maybe a minute over, but I think after 20 hours spent in the dumpster, you can afford me the extra moment. Don't question it, please. There were 8,000 books. Over 90% of them were brand new. I don't care who did it, and I don't care why. What I do care about is that it never, ever happens again. Correct a few things that I would like to mention in the earlier comments. There was no plastic in that dumpster. It's called a paper gator, not a plastic gator. There were no mouse droppings on sealed reamed paper. I know, I'm an auctioneer. If it's rotten, I would have left it in there. Went through every single book. Would have been about 37, maybe 38 boxes. There were 61 total outdated textbooks, half of which have gone into the hands of homeschoolers now and or other charities. With that said, I'm going to take a few seconds of my time. The other 36 that were not picked up were donated by me to Goodwill. You may write it off on your taxes or whatever you report to the feds. That's a donation in your name. 8,000 books, 90% were brand new. Simply discarded. Again, the other 7,950 books plus that I didn't take down to Goodwill today because they were math books from 14 years ago, have now found loving new homes in community libraries, battered women's shelters, children's shelters, daycares, several of them came by. Other school districts, Mason, Jackson, Grand Ledge, and Charlotte came by yesterday. Some of which told me that these teachers actually have to pay for books in their schools. I guess it doesn't happen here, but other schools are not as fortunate as DeWitt. Homeschoolers picked up, tutors, churches, and on and on. Between 10 a.m. Sunday until around 2 p.m. today, over 100 people and organizations came by my house, and we repurposed every single one of the books. Probably about 600 still in my garage. You're more than welcome to come by and see how battered and dangerous they may have been for yourself. I guarantee you they weren't. Or if they were, I'd have thrown them away myself. Americans do not destroy books. Never, ever. I have requested, and I had a very nice direct discussion today with Dr. Spicard, that if ever you need to simply discard items like this en masse, again, you just call me. I won't tell you no. Most folks know I'm an auctioneer by trade. You haven't figured that out? Take the wax out of your ears.
1 minute.
I'll say go a little long.
You've done 3.
You gave the archery team an hour.
I'm doing 4.
That's fine. I'm going to take as long as I can, or the news people will take all of my time. Okay? Even at 10 cents a book, had I called a free auction for you, we could have raised $800 minimum, given directly to the PTA, that also showed up yesterday. At no expense to you. I'd have done it for free. But 8,000 books, not to mention the oft-mentioned chairs that were not found, most likely hauled away 2 days before this book issue was brought to my attention by Granger. Just call me next time. I'll make sure they get into the proper hands. My services are free. These books, however, were not. It's a waste not only of taxpayer funds, but worse, to simply discard a book times 60 in a lot of cases on Martin Luther King, William Tell, snails migrating, polar bears at the North Pole, Eleanor Roosevelt, Harriet Tubman, and on and on and on, is taking the ability to learn out of other children's hands who would cherish the ability to read and to learn. And anyone who defended the paper gator, one final fact. Wacusta Schools on February 3rd posted its fundraising dollars. 14,226 pounds of paper in the Wacusta Elementary School and its paper gator. How much was it total raised?
Mr. Cooey,
$192.72.
In respect to everyone else here, please observe our time. You've been 2 minutes over.
Absolutely.
Give us some grace.
Thank you.
Appreciate your efforts.
I appreciate the effort. That's the last final line. We ensure it and we work together that this never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it. Superintendent's report.
Just a couple of updates. First of all, on bond, I know we've gotten some concerns around the bond work and decisions that were made, and just a reminder that it was determined a couple of years ago on what the needs were, and voters actually voted on specific things. And so I know there's some controversy over the stadium, and just want to remind that less than 7% is total for all extracurricular, and so the stadium is less than 6% of those funds. In addition, the HVAC is an overhaul of mechanical and electrical in 6 different buildings, which will last the duration of the 6 years of the bond. We can't do all of that work all in one summer. But these expenditures were approved and voted on and will be spent as approved and voted on. And then I'm also working with GMB on Plant Moran on the timeline for the HVAC system, so people can kind of see what buildings they'll be in and when. Again, it's proposed timeline, but then to help people understand how that's going to happen. As far as parent engagement is concerned, I met with PTA and PTSA leadership this morning to discuss membership and continuing engagement efforts, the strategic plan, which hopefully you would approve today, and the Happy New Learning Plan. And then for School of Choice on Tuesday, June 21st, at 8 o'clock, we had our School of Choice lottery. We had 81 applications, and we're able to honor 51 of those. And the others are on a waiting list, which we will be able to reassess the additional spots that we might have available the week of August 15th.
So question, when you have a lottery, if you choose a student's name who is a sibling or has siblings, all of those siblings come?
We try, but not necessarily. Sometimes they are split. But we start with 8th grade and go down, and so if an 8th grade is picked that has a sibling in 1st grade, if they have a slot in 1st grade, then that sibling would come with them. So we do our best to keep siblings together, but there might not be a spot in a
particular grade. Thank you.
That's all I do.
Other questions?
I have one question. Is there a preference if someone has had school choice in the past, or is it just a straight lottery?
So for families that have been split, that might be a school of choice, and then there's another one in the lottery, then yes, we try to keep those together.
I meant if
Once they're in
students
there.
were attending already as a school choice student, do they permanently have a spot, or do they go?
No, they're always in.
Okay.
Sorry, I
That's okay.
misunderstood.
No, okay.
So we have tuition, which is usually done at the high school. That's an annual thing, but school of choice is once you're through, you don't have to worry about that a lot. Thank you, sorry.
Good motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.